So, what is the right age? This is like $1 million question. What's the right age?
So it's never about the age, it's always about the brain. And that is exactly where this freedom and frustration comes in.
You might not actually be that mean in person. Like, we also have gone through the bullying phase. We've also either been bullies or been bullied by people. And it was never this kind of mean. In this beautiful conversation I had with manifestation mentor Khushbu Tharani, she said we're always on edge because we're not present. 58% of Indian parents actually said that they were not present while they were with their kids because of their phones. No wonder our teenagers are not being able to balance their usage of their phone. We're not modeling it. We're not actually monitoring our own usage of the phone. And that's creating so much of frustration. That's creating so many problems. Today we have with us Tejashree Acharya. She's going to help us decode these problems. Tejashree is a child psychologist and a parenting coach. What I find most striking about her is her compassion towards children. So let's get into it with her. Hi, I'm Sneha Javeri, your fellow mommy friend and the host of Mama Approved, a podcast where I ask all your questions to the best people in the business. Hi, Tejashree. Thank you so much for coming here today. We are going to talk about something that's so important and something that is going to gain importance in the life of parents who have young kids. So I'm going to dive straight into it. I just love the title you suggested for this episode: Freedom, Phones, and Frustration. And why do you feel that frustration and freedom is so interrelated to phones?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here today. It's this podcast space is also looking like, two friends interacting on parenting challenges that are so relevant. Freedom is something that, you're very free to do certain things. And when you have the freedom, you can connect, you can explore, and you have your own choices. But at the same time, when we connected with phones, there also comes boundaries, limitation. And when children are unable to do that, there comes frustration.
Right.
So at a very young age, if you give this to the child, and there's a lot of things that a child suddenly explores, which will impact in frustrating
The
their
child.
brain. Yeah.
Okay. So, what is the right age? This is like $1 million question. What's the right age for to give kids a gadget, whether it's a phone, whether it's an iPad that they can call their own? What's the right age for that?
So it's never about the age, it's always about the brain. Because scientifically or psychologically, what happens is that after a certain age, during their teenage, it's more like their emotional development is growing on a high peak and their logical brain is slowly developing. So, what happens is they are more excited to learn about, the likes that they get on certain posts, the comments that they get. And that is what brings them more curiosity to, use social media accounts and all of those things. So if you feel that, there is this need, my child needs a phone for anything like having educational resources or learning, you can definitely provide the phone at that age, keeping in mind certain boundaries, limitation, and also what kind of value aligns in your family. So I would say that if you ask me a particular age, it could be nearly around 13 to 14, but at the same time, it also depends on the environment that you come from and also what you bring in. Like, does my child needs phone for like commuting from one place to another because he or she is traveling alone and I need to keep a check on it. At that point of time, you actually need to give your child that device. But at the same time, if the child is at home the entire day and just simply scrolling, makes no point.
Yeah.
So that is doing more harm than good.
So basically, lots of mothers kind of succumb to the phone at early ages, say 11, 12, 13, whatever. Mainly not because it's their choice to give a phone to their child, but most mothers, and I spoke to a lot of people right before having this con because my kids are still very young, so I might not be in this situation as yet, but of course, reaching there very soon. But a lot of mothers said that, she was the only or he was the only one who didn't have a phone in the class. So then, I can't be so mean and not give the phone. Or then it is like, okay, no, she has the phone and we've given it to her by choice, but she's allowed to use the phone only 1 hour a day. So is it really about the phone, or is it about the time spent on the phone, or is the alarming part or the damaging part, not alarming part, but the damaging part, the concept of having the phone?
Yeah. So this is a very great question that you've brought in, because I think somewhere there are majority of the parents having the same views and same perspective. Now let's understand in a way wherein there are families coming from different financial background.
Right.
Some may be able to give their child phone at a very early age. Some may delay it for a very long time. Second thing, it also depends on the schooling. Like what kind of phone does other children use? And also, what is the use of the phone that they are using for? Is it that they are using to connect? Is it they are using to learn something? Is it they are using for a class that is conducted online? Because let's understand that we have a very negative impression of giving phones to children.
Yeah.
But it also has a positive impact. Because child living in Mumbai can connect to anybody across the world, having good mentors, can upskill their skills. And at the same time, a shy child may not be okay to learn or have that physical connect, but would be more comfortable in a setting where he or she is given that connect. So that is one aspect. Second thing that you told me was about the time, that 1 hour usage, or uh, the other way around, right? But I would like to say that it's never about the time. The child sitting on a phone for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, it depends on what the child is doing at that point of time. So if that 1 hour the child is engrossed in the phone, what is the child doing? Is it continuously scrolling the social media? Is it continuously talking to friends? Or it is something that, the short content reels that the child is viewing. If it is productive, the child is going to learn something. If not, it is going to harm the child. So whatever time the child is spending on phone, you as parents need to monitor it. Secondly, having good boundaries and having general rules before giving the phone helps. Because whenever you give mobile phone to children, always have a pre-discussion done. And ask that, if I give you the phone, what is it that you're going to use for? How it is going to help you? There's a very nice research or questionnaire that is available online that is associated with the American Academy of Pediatrics. So you as parents can also take that up. It's a free one. And that ensures what is the right age when, you can give the phone to your child, or is your child ready for a phone?
Okay. Like it's a survey.
Yeah, it's a survey, and it has all the dimension mentioned, like the values you align, members of home, what are they thinking about giving children their phone, or what at the most child is thinking, why the child wants a phone. Is it just because that everybody else wants it, or is it just because that he or she really wants to scroll it? Because we are living in a place where having valuable resources matters.
Yeah.
It's going to give them that exposure, which maybe we're not in an environment that we can give.
Okay. But according to you, there's no real correct age. It depends from child to child. Is that what you're trying to say? Like it depends on what they need the phone for. It depends on the lifestyle of the parents. It depends on the kind of school they go to, and if they actually require the phone for school. So it's okay to give the phone to a child if they're young. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, with correct boundaries. With boundaries and discipline, which both as children and as parents, they firmly follow it. Only on those consequences. Maybe to have a very casual or a very firm interaction with the child, understanding, see, this is what you're going to get and this is how you're going to use it. Apart from this, Do you feel that there is another need? Because I believe that we as parents are, and let's take into consideration that our parents have always enforced their decision on us. And somewhere that has come in our parenting style also. So I would not want that parents now come up कि मैं आपको ये देने वाली हूँ, इसके लिए ऐसा 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 करना. But at least have that listening here. Ask the child कि what is their perspective. It's very important to take their perspective in understanding. Because as they grow, they will need someone to hear them. Your parenting style will change after every 5 years. And you will have to modify your conversation accordingly.
Oh my God, this is like this is exactly what is happening. I'm sure I can only talk about myself on a daily basis. Like it is like I have told you this, and I was just thinking, while I was coming here, I was like, why is this so complicated with our kids? Like when we asked a question, our mother said, "This is what you have to do." When we asked why, we were told because I'm mom, and that's it. There's no argument, there's no discussion. It's like, I'm mom, and therefore you have to listen to what I'm saying. Today, it's like, I'm mama, so I'm telling you to do this, and they'll just be like, so? Just because you're mom, so you can say whatever you want to say. And I was like, I didn't even have this intellect or this understanding that I could say this to my mother that, oh, it doesn't matter if you're mom, but I think I want to do this. And I was like, when this reaches a point where big choices have to be made, this approach of this is how it's going to be, this is my way or the highway, it's not going to work because I'm just going to get alienated from her life otherwise. Like, if I don't kind of take into consideration what she has to say, what she wants to do, it's not going to work. So, yeah, you're so right, because every 5 years, when they suddenly have that jump in understanding, jump in, their whole, their mental, their physical changes, we also have to change with them.
Correct.
So, yeah, that's true actually.
And that is exactly where this freedom and frustration comes in. Because as per their age, you'll have to give them certain freedom, certain choices, certain responsibilities. Because we've always empowered them to speak up for themselves. And when it comes to parents, they won't resist. They're like, okay, I'm allowed to speak.
The rules can't be different,
Correct,
right? Yeah. And my mom always tells me this. She's like, you want smart children, but you all don't want to bear the consequences of smart children. If they're smart, if they're intelligent, if they're confident, they're going to be smart, intelligent, and confident even with you. They're not going to be meek and shy and quiet with you. So, yeah, that's true. But, recently I was talking to a friend, and her child, she has an older child, and she said that the child actually was being called fat and was being body shamed by her peers, saying things like, oh, like, you're very fat, you should stop eating, or you should just starve so you can lose some weight, and all of that. And all this is happening on a WhatsApp group. So while I do understand what you're saying, is it a bit overreaching to actually believe that giving them a phone after setting boundaries, they're actually going to follow those boundaries without us intervening? They're actually going to be respectful. Are they old enough to be respectful of not talking like this, of not doing this on a WhatsApp group where that person cannot retaliate? That person, whatever you're writing on a WhatsApp group can become so mean and so toxic. Whereas when you're actually in person, you might not actually be that mean in person. Like, we also have gone through the bullying phase. We've also either been bullies or been bullied by people. And it was never this kind of mean. Like, it was mean, of course. We also cried when we went home. There were situations where, parents had to come to school and address it and all of that. We've been through all that. But this is reaching some other level where if you're body shaming a child at 13, it's a lot for the child to accept, to understand, to process. And also, we don't want to be those parents where we are like, we don't want you to deal with this, we will come and deal with it. So we want you to be able to deal with your problems, but we don't want the self-worth of the child to be broken to a point of no return. So, first of all, my question is that how do we identify that the children are going through something if they are being bullied, or if they are being the bully, and what are the coping mechanisms that we can empower with our children?
So, this is a question that, every parent is going through, I believe. And when we talk about ourselves, we had people one on one. Okay. So, when one person is bullying another one, or when A is bullying B, A is able to see what that person is going through.
Right.
So, B, when is standing in front of him or her, is crying maybe,
Yeah.
or, is trying to revert back.
Yeah.
So that person is seeing the body language, tonality,
Yeah.
and then acts accordingly.
Yeah.
What happens when it is on screen is they all group up.
Yeah.
Number one thing. Number two is that they don't have real time emotion.
Right.
Like they'll just write for the sake of writing. They're
Yeah.
not purposely actually targeting. It's just that friendship and peers at this age become very important. And 13 is just the start of teenage years. So this is a very crucial age where children are actually learning about their identity. They are moving from, teenagers to early adulthood. So they take into consideration a lot of things like body image, the way I look, the way I present myself, what my friends think about me. And all of these aspects build their self-worth. Now, what is happening when it is happening online is, of course, there are certain things that we can control. There are certain things we can't control. It is the same what goes in the school also in a physical form. It's only our values that can help. Because every time we cannot go out and protect our child. Our child will have to learn to stand up for themselves. That is one thing.
So, how do you empower them to make sure that they stand up for themselves? So, I actually have, like, for example, my daughter is extremely confident and extremely capable of, I'm not capable sometimes of standing up for myself, but she's extremely capable. But I know lots of kids who are not. Like, they just, it's not their personality. They can't. Maybe they're shy. Maybe they're afraid. How do those parents help and empower their children to say, no, I'm sorry, this cannot happen? At 13, I would believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, an adult at some point needs to maybe enter the scene and say, sorry, this is not going to work.
Correct.
Because all of them are young. Even the kids who are being mean are young. The kids who are being targeted are young. Nobody is actually acting out of malice. They're all acting out of hormones and being 13 and just going with the flow. And as you said, that online it then becomes a group, with a virtual group. So you feel more ganged up against than you would when it's in a physical setting. Right? Am I right? So how would that meek, shy child, what are the tools that we can empower them with?
Yeah, very well said. I would answer to what you're saying, but before that, I would continue with what I was saying earlier. So you just said that there's a point when parents need to intervene and say, "Let's stop." I would say that at this age, parents act like a coach. Okay, so unless and until the problem is not very much severe, don't intervene. Second thing is, how do we teach our child? Teach to be smart, digitally smart. So when such incidents happen, screenshot them, keep it for your record. If there is a need, we need to submit it in the school, inform teachers, inform principal if there is a need. Second thing, teach your child how to revert back. Teach your child how to stand up for themselves. Teach your child that apart from the way I look, the way I portray, there's something that people can't see. That's kindness of a person. That's creativity of a person. That's the hard work that someone puts in.
Yeah.
It is what we teach our child gets carried forward.
Yeah.
And the same way, how we teach them respecting people in an offline setup, we do the same thing in a digital setup also.
Right.
Children have to be very careful with what they post regarding their views, their identity, their own pictures. Because that is what it is creating their digital self-image. And that is what it is hampering. Now, when you talk about empowering children, I told you that you need to teach children how they can inform teachers,
Yeah.
how they can inform principal.
Yeah.
Another thing is teach your children how to talk assertively,
Yeah.
when to say no, how to be firm,
Yeah.
and how to leave that space.
Right.
This is something which is very important because today the child has come up and the child has shared with you. But your reaction are going to later on tell our child if further the child is going to share things with you or not. Because you as a person, the way how you react to that situation, children will, keep that in mind. Now, at this age, what happens is children tease each other.
Yeah.
कि
A lot. Yeah.
I told you this thing तो तू तो जाके तेरी मम्मी को बोल के आई.
हाँ.
You can't even handle
हाँ.
the situation.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
तेरी मम्मी ने ऐसा ऐसा किया तो मुझे तेरे साथ बात नहीं
और
करनी है.
मम्मी भी नहीं, इट्स मोर लाइक अगर एज यूर सेइंग कि प्रिंसिपल से बात हुई या
Correct.
टीचर से बात हुई, इट्स लाइक ओ शी इज अ टैटलर, शी इज अ टेल टेल. सो देन यू आर लेबलिंग अगेन कि फैट नहीं है, अब टेल टेल भी, फैट भी है और टेल टेल भी है. सो कैंसिल करो, कैंसिल कल्चर एज दे आर कॉलिंग इट.
Yeah.
You know?
And what is happening to the child? Child is going silent. Child is not revealing what he or she is going through.
So yeah, exactly. So that is another question that I had, that why, first of all, the parents are always the last to know everything. For what reason, I don't know. Like, even when we were growing up, whatever drama was transpiring in school, nobody went home and sat. Very few kids go and tell their mothers everything. Ki bhai, aisa hua, aisa hua, aisa hua. And when you're talking to an adult, now that we are mothers, you kind of figure that this is so important, this communication. But as you said, sometimes we don't have the right reaction. So we are not encouraging them to come and tell us everything. So that's something that, of course, mothers have to work on. All of us need to work on that. How are you going to be neutral? How are you not going to be emotionally charged every time they say something to you?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But the parents are the last to know, and because of that, measures cannot be taken, help cannot be given to this child. They also refrain from telling. If the mother finds out through other mothers also, that child kind of trivializes, no, nothing happened. And you're just like, the mother is saying that you're being bullied majorly. I don't know about it. I have found out from somebody else. Now I'm addressing it with you and you are saying nothing is happening. So what do you do? Like, how do you help the child in that case? And why is it that children are not confident to come and tell their parents that, please fix this. This is not working,
So first thing is the age that matters. And second thing, it is like silent is better than judgment.
Okay.
That is very powerful because they feel that if I'm silent, if I'm quiet, till the time everything is okay. If my mom comes to know, if my father comes to know, let's take into two consideration. Either I can get help. The worst thing what will happen is my father or my parents would blame me कि तूने कुछ किया होगा, or they'll get in the matter and they'll be like कि I'll sort this out for you, which I don't want because again it's going to increase my problem. So it is all the way how you react to certain situations.
Right.
And parents are always the last one
Yeah.
because they somewhere have this fear that they'll snatch my phone away, or maybe I'll be left alone. Then nobody would talk to me. And as I told you earlier, that they are moving towards adulthood.
Right.
So they have this one thing in their mind that I'm growing up. I need to solve my problems all by myself. And again, the self-worth thing comes in. Ki, really, am I fat? Or really, is this what everybody thinks about me? It is how the child will perceive then later on. So I have always seen that parents are always the last one to know.
So in a situation like this, professional counseling would help that child. Should they seek professional help? Because professional help, of course, now everything is changing, but it's such a big stigma. Even to see the school counselor, it's like छुप के सब लोग जाते हैं school counselor के पास कि भाई किसी को पता ना चले that we have gone to the school counselor, or oh no, the school counselor will label the child saying कि भाई ऐसा ही है, which obviously is not the case because you have been identified, the problem has been identified, I'm assuming that you're getting the right help, even if it is from a school counselor. The counselor is going to take measures that they need to take. So it's not about labeling the child, it's about giving the child the appropriate help. But that also becomes a source of stigma, that I'm getting help.
So I was coming to that point wherein you shared that, how can parents intervene and still not intervene at the same time? So they can always write a note to the teacher that, or maybe have an appointment with the teacher where they can address such issues. And then that can further be taken through the counselor.
Right.
If there is this thing that, parents feel that all the other children may see my child going to a counselor and ask questions,
Yeah.
there's always better to go out. There are many good psychologists, many good counselors outside who can help the child. So if the child is very much open, and which they will eventually after 1 or 2 sessions, they'll be in a better position to seek help.
Right. And that'll give them the confidence. Like the professional can help them stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
Kind of set boundaries, saying, this is my boundary, please don't.
Correct. So many of the things get resolved in talk therapy. It works wonderfully with teenagers because at that age, they feel parents don't understand them. It's the hormones that playing the other way around also. And with friends, they can't show who they are. So it works wonderfully when a third person comes in. Maybe if you don't prefer seeking counselor's help, a good confidential cousin or a family member whom they look up to can always help.
So also, like, in fact, I was talking about this only. I was talking to a 15, 16-year-old girl, and she said, how complicated relationships have become. Because back in the day when we started dating or we were in that situation, whatever, 15, 16 years, it was, if we are having a fight, we are having a fight. Now, if two people are having a fight, everybody's having a fight. Everybody's on their phone. She said, when people like our friends are having a fight and when they are dating, we are on the phone the whole day because the messages are going back and forth. As you said, screenshots are being taken, sent, oh, she said this, he said this one is happening. And I'm just like, how complicated, creating so much of anxiety, so much of drama over a fight, which is the most natural thing. This is what lays the groundwork of our skills as we grow up. When you get married,
Correct.
Whatever the skills that you need to problem solve in a relationship, that's not happening only because everybody is getting entrenched in this drama of WhatsApp and Instagram and, oh, she unfollowed me. So now, oh, you know what? This one unfollowed this one. So now they're not seeing each other. What's going on? Why is this happening?
It's a very sharp observation by a 15-year-old, I would say.
Yeah, it was. And I asked her also, I said, that this is what's happening. Then why are you all always on your phone? She's saying, I don't have an answer for that.
And it's a very in-depth conversation also, which is, going to expand a lot of horizons from here.
Yes.
Because, again, I would say that there are 3 dimensions to look for it. Number 1 is interpersonal skills. Number 2, friendship. And number 3, privacy in any relationship. May it be a dating part of it or 2 friends conversing. Let's talk about interpersonal skills here. So, when 2 people are talking, they are talking. But I believe children now are more they are performing when they are talking on WhatsApp. They will not answer what they are actually feeling, but they'll answer what the person wants to hear so that that person feel good about me. It's like performance. I want to give my best shot.
Wow.
And I also feel that they are acting like for whatever reason it is. Again, I'll bring this point forward is that when 2 people are talking, they're not seeing each other.
Right.
And they're not understanding the situation. What is happening with 15 to 16-year-old is they are viewing what is the message come. They'll understand, no. But when it comes to answering, they just want to give a befitting answer. Okay, unhone mujhe aisa bola, so I'm going to give this back because I can't bring myself down. And they somewhere know that this is going to get circulated among the
Yeah,
friends.
so they want the right message also to get circulated.
Correct. That is one thing. And second thing is that they don't know what the person is perceiving on the other hand. So if you and me are talking to each other, maybe we are having a fight and I'm very angry on you.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you're feeling very sorry about your act. But I don't know what you are feeling. Because I'm angry, I'm going to type out certain messages that is going to hurt you more. And you are going to feel more guilty about it. So I'm not understanding what you're feeling. I don't know what you are actually going to type me back out. And the messages that is coming to me, I'm going to perceive in the mood which I am currently in. That is one thing. So that is about interpersonal skills. Children today are not, and it's not their fault. We live in a generation where technology is taken over.
Right.
We need to regulate it in a better way. Second thing, friendship. Friendship is also more of like, children quickly start feeling FOMO. So the moment there is this message coming up in any of the group, they'll be very quick to answer, to react, to circulate, so that they don't feel left out. Okay, the XYZ person had sent, but I did not react. Maybe that person is, following the other one or is in the favor of the other one. They don't want to feel left out. Second thing, they'll need time, or maybe somewhere I feel children are losing empathy. They are going towards more of practicality, understanding situation in their own terms without realizing what the opposite person is feeling. Somewhere that is lacking. And the third thing is privacy. It is very important that, we maintain privacy. And this something as parents, teachers, anybody who's associated with kids need to do that.
Yeah.
Need to inform children, need to educate that we need to respect ourselves as well as the other person.
Right.
Whatever we talk has to make sense.
Yeah.
And even if it is not making sense, at least be respectful to the person.
Yeah.
No matter whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are the various aspects that we very soon need to put forth. And that is why I see more of soft skill training and social etiquettes training needing. There's a urge of these skills.
Absolutely. And I think they need to be taught at a very young age. And mainly, I would say also, of course, from us, but also from school, all these things they need to be kind of brought in check. That, as you said, respect, it's so important that when you are dating, even if you are having a fight, you cannot insult people on a public platform. You can't insult, or you cannot, throw around your relationship just to get sympathy, just to become that, that heroine for that one day where everybody's like, oh, are you okay? What's happening? Oh, he's so mean. He's so this. No, like it doesn't work like that. And of course they are young, and of course they are going to do this. But I guess the onus would lie on us, to kind of not have them behave this way. And not just one child, everybody. It has to be everybody behaving in a certain way. Otherwise, there's no point. If one child is not doing it, it doesn't make sense.
Correct, yeah.
So as a group, there needs to be more empathy, for sure. Empathy is so important, which is so missing. So
Yes.
missing.
And I think these are the ground rules we as parents set before giving phones or operating their social media accounts. That there is always a way to put forward. If you want to express certain views, make it a point that you express it in a way where you're not humiliating somebody else, but at the same time, you're putting your voice in front.
So, of course, we've also read a lot, and it's all over social media, that social media and phones is so damaging to even energy levels, even like the mental makeup, and the development of the brain for the child. So, what's the science behind this? And what is the drawback, and what is actually happening scientifically to the brain of the child when they are constantly dumb scrolling or constantly on that videos and WhatsApp, and what is happening scientifically?
Many things, I would say. So let's understand it in a way wherein, at this age, particularly towards the teenage years, what happens to the brain is that they are feeling mind, I would say. The place where, they are actually thinking about thoughts, feelings, and they're emotionally getting carried away. All of these side of the brain are highly activated. Their logical side of the brain is still developing, and it is maturing till the age it gets around 20-25. That's the time when the entire brain is fully developed. So, because that logical brain is developing, their emotional side is developing at a higher pace. Number one thing. Number two thing is that when they are viewing content, they're continuously on the screen without blinking their eye. So what happens is their eye gets strained, and that is where they find a drop in their energy level. Number three, there's this hormone called as dopamine.
Okay.
So when you scroll mobile, or when you see reels, short-term content, you feel good about it. You'll always view something that you feel good about.
Right.
Maybe something of your interest.
Yeah.
Maybe something that you like, your hobbies. Things that you like more, you're going to do more.
Right.
And it is going to give you instant gratification.
Yeah.
So what is happening is that your attention span is coming low.
Okay.
Because it's only the short-term content that you are liking it,
Yeah.
and you're viewing it, and that is what giving you happiness. So
Yeah.
when there are certain things that is giving you immediate happiness, you're going to do it more. And it is resulting in your attention span coming to a downer level.
Okay.
That is one thing.
Okay.
Another thing is because feelings are coming in full flow and your hormones are balancing, your logical brain is not in a place to understand where to put a stop or how much to, scroll, or what to scroll. The content is just flowing, and based on the algorithm, it is going to show you similar type of content. So logical brain is not thinking कि किधर stop करना है, कितना view करना है, and to whom to share, and is it even relevant?
So, but then in that case, the whole boundaries thing is even more important, right? So, I mean, it's very tough actually to set boundaries when you don't have this disciplinarian hard fist saying, sorry, it's not going to happen. It's been 30 minutes, hard stop, put the phone in and out. But obviously, they're not going to respond to that. So, this is actually the big challenge where, as you said, freedom, frustration relating to phones because they are frustrated because of so many reasons. And the freedom aspect is being curtailed by parents at some level because we know that this is harmful. But again, they are watching us and looking at us
Exactly.
where we don't have any boundaries when it comes to the phone. So we are not modeling the right behavior, actually. That is, I think, where the problem lies.
So even when you will see yourself, or let me consider myself also, we're going out, maybe we are waiting at the bus stop for our child's bus to come, we're scrolling phone. We're at home, free time, scrolling phone. We're going out, on the way, we're scrolling phone. So whenever we are getting that free time, what are we doing? We're just scrolling phone. And then at the same time, when we're telling children, don't do it, your time's up, do you feel children at this age are going to listen? No. So that brings me to a point that whenever you're setting boundaries, always have your child involved in it.
Yeah.
You sit together and create a space, or jot down what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, to what extent.
Is it acceptable?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what is the things that you can do it on social media, how much you can post, what you can post, awareness.
Last, I want to ask you that the anxiety that is being created because of social media, because of the phone, which is so easy access, and then all this is happening on the phone as we discussed. There is, name calling and this, and somebody's put some mean comment on some picture that you've posted and you've gone mad and you've had a meltdown because as we discussed that they cannot regulate themselves.
Correct.
What are the coping mechanisms that we can help, instill in the kids, or we can teach the kids so that the anxiety is not on an all-time high? Because I feel like imagine if it creates anxiety in us and we are thinking logical, people going about our day and one mean comment from somebody. I remember we had some crazy Google reviews for the salon, and I went into freeze mode. I had so much anxiety, so much stress. I said, बस अब मेरा business बंद ही हो जाएगा. इन लोग ने कुछ बोल दिया है मतलब. And then I had to sit down and collect myself and said, please calm down. We cannot behave like this. You cannot behave like a 10-year-old. Like, relax. So, of course, if it takes this kind of strength for us to calm down, we are expecting the kids to kind of regulate their anxiety themselves, which is not possible.
Correct.
So, how do we help them regulate this anxiety that is coming out of something that is so inevitable in their life?
Yeah. It is very important to address this concern, I would say, because at this age, anxiety is not just coming through social media. Of course, a large part of it is coming. But at the same time, peers, studies, the relationship with parents, family, it is also adding on to the stress that children are going through. Second thing is very important to teach them regulation right from this age, is because, as I told you, they're just like a wet clay. And now what we model, or the way how we want them to learn about it,
Yeah.
will help them in long run.
Yeah.
Another thing is that right now, if we are successful in helping them teach about dealing with their anxieties or dealing with their emotions in a better way, it's going to help them in a long run with their academics and the way how they maintain relationship with others.
Right.
So that is one thing. Another thing what I would like to address here is many of the psychological conditions that an adult faces in the later stage of their life have their traces in childhood, in teenage years.
Okay.
And because right now their self-worth is more surrounded around their friends and the way how people perceive them,
Yeah.
which is going to mold their personality. And which makes it even more necessary to teach them about all of these things.
Right.
Coming to a point where what can we do to, help them? Number one thing is be very open with them while talking about your insecurities, talking about your way how you deal with your emotions. Because I believe that when we were kids, we never got that space to interact with our parents and openly say that, all of these things are bothering me, Mama. How can I work on it? Because at that age, our parents were only expecting us to work hard on our studies, get good marks, and be a good person. But children now are getting bothered about various things. So calm yourself. Number one thing, because it's only like, let's take it in a way where, a ship is going out and it is sailing. But it will have to come back to the dockyard where it feels safe, even though the storm is outside.
Right.
So you have to be that anchor
safe
or
space.
that dock where, children are coming up and discussing it with you. Your emotions has to be in a place where children are open talking to you. Give them that space. I don't say that you have to learn certain things to talk to them, or there are certain strategies how we talk to them. Even when you're present, your calm gives them that safe space. Number one. Number two, if parents are working or if they don't have that level of connection with anybody, I would still want them to journal. Put their thoughts and let it be confidential. We don't want to understand. We don't want to, go through the book in their absence and see कि बच्चे ने क्या लिखा है क्या नहीं. Because the child has actually put out certain feelings or emotion which the child doesn't want to talk about.
Right.
But again, if you see certain changes in the behavior, or maybe, he or she is completely in the room, not talking to everyone, just writing, there are certain symptoms. Maternal instinct will come out and say, kuch gadbad hai, I want to check. Of course, at that point of time, I would urge to peep in and see what it is there. Number 3 is, apart from social media, let your child be involved in different physical activities. Because when the child is stressed out, the cortisol level in the body rises. Now, when you give more of sertraline, that is when the child is going to come back down in a level. What is going to help them? Physical activities or maybe, you know, when the child is meeting different people, talking and interacting about different things apart from studies, apart from the regular thing that is going on,
Right.
it is going to divert their mind.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to bring that feel-good hormone in them.
Okay.
So journaling, physical activity, having that safe space is going to help them.
Nice. Okay, that's doable.
Yeah.
That's actually quite doable. And you've made it so simple. You're making it sound so simple. I feel like I hope it actually happens like this in real time. But thank you so much. This was such a lovely conversation. And I'm sure everybody who sees this episode is going to take back so much and kind of tweak the way they are dealing with their teenagers. Thank you so much for this, Tejashree.
Thank you so
It was
much.
an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today, because I feel that even if one person will take up any one thing,
Yeah.
that child is going to benefit.
Exactly.
What
and that's
else?
our hope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want parents to learn certain things or, you know, be expert.
Yeah.
Just be present.
Yeah.
Sometimes we as parents think that, you know, क्या क्या करना पड़ेगा, अभी बच्चा नहीं सुन रहा है, ये करूँ, वो करूँ, इससे मिलूँ, उससे मिलूँ. Sometimes your presence speaks a lot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. In case you have any questions, please feel free to comment. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel.